You're listening to Her Confidence Her Way podcast, episode 191. Welcome to Her Confidence Her Way podcast, a place to talk about creating your passion-driven work, leveling up your mindset, and living a purposeful life that you always wanted. Hey girlfriends, I am your host, Emiko Rasmussen. 15 plus years of corporate career woman turned into an entrepreneur who now coaches hundreds of Japanese working women, helping them to grow their passion and a side hustle with confidence. I will tell you the truth. There is no overnight success. I mean, if it is that easy, then everyone is having their dream life and a dream business already. If you're ready to do the hard work and show up 100%, let's hang out right here, right now. This episode is sponsored by my free 5 days business masterclass. 2021年、今年こそは何か形にしたい、何か変化を与えたい、そのように決心した人。Just keep listening. もしもパッション強め信念を軸にオンラインビジネスを始めたいけど、どこから始めていいかわからない方、自己流で始めたものの全く前進できていない方、ゼロからどのようにして形にしていいかわからない方、そして始めたビジネスをもっともっと伸ばしたい方、そんなあなたのために無料のビジネスマスタークラスが始まります。日にちは1月の18日から5日間です。この日にちはすべてアメリカの西海岸の時間です。1月18日7時から日本時間でいう1月の19日午後12時からです。すべてはライブでレッスンが行われますが、もしもライブで参加できない方はもちろん録画でアクセスができます。詳細はもしも公式ニュースレターに登録されている方は今週私から招待状が届きます。そしてまだ公式ニュースレターに登録されていない方はインスタグラムのバイオリンクから無料のマスタークラスに登録することができます。I am super excited to see you there and of course I'm gonna show up 100% and I hope you're gonna show up 100% too. See you soon! Hey girlfriends, how are you doing? And thank you so much for listening to Her Confidence Her Way podcast. This is the first episode of 2021 and I am super excited to be here and I am so ready to rock this new year. How about you guys? I hope you're feeling the same. Okay, so today's guest, oh my gosh, you guys will love this episode. This episode is going to be pretty much all in English. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I had an amazing opportunity interviewing Meg. She is the behind the scene of Blossom. Blossom, the project, is the Instagram account name, and she talks about mental health and social issues. She was so generous sharing with us about why she had started this project, Blossom, and her personal stories that she wouldn't normally share on Instagram or any other social media. So you get to know about her really well. My hope is that by listening to this episode or by hearing Meg's story, you feel that you're not alone, or you feel that it is okay for you to seek or reach out someone to get some help. All right, without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Meg. Meg, welcome to Her Confidence Her Way podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great, and thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm such a fan girl. So you have no idea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for saying yes to be on the show. Oh, you have no idea. So many of the listeners, they follow your account and they're super excited to hear from you today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So, like I said, many of my listeners, they may know you already, or maybe not necessarily actually you, but the account, the Blossom,
Mhm.
the project is the account. But I also would like to just maybe hear from your story as well. So, why don't you introduce yourself
Yeah,
first?
of
Yeah.
course. So my name is Meg. I am currently 21 years old. I'm a junior at university, and I was born in Osaka.
Mhm.
My father is South African and my mother is Japanese.
Mhm.
But when I was 6 months old, I moved to California for my dad's
Mhm.
job. And I lived there until I was 10 years old.
Mhm.
And then when I was 10, I moved back to Japan and I lived there until I was 18. So I did a little bit of elementary school and then all of middle school and high school in Japan.
Wow.
And then, yeah, and then when I was 18, I was so ready to get out of Japan. So I went abroad for university.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because my university, so I go to NYU, New York University,
Yeah.
but NYU has a few different campuses around the world. So I go to my home campus is in Abu Dhabi, the United
Mhm.
Arab
Yeah.
Emirates. But I was supposed to be spending all of this year in New York. That obviously didn't happen because of coronavirus.
Yep.
So that's why I'm back in Osaka right now, just doing online classes and, managing my internship, my schoolwork, and then doing Blossom. So it's kind of my very basic introduction. Yeah.
Okay, I had no idea that you were supposed to be in New York. That was,
Yeah.
yeah, but makes sense why you're not there.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're living in Japan and you ended up coming back, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you have started, I guess, Project Blossom Project. And I'm just blown away. Like the content that you put on
Mm.
this, like I'm just showing Instagram. This is just so amazing, and I don't even know like where to like dive in because there are so many things that I wanted to talk. But
Mm.
maybe first, I think it would be. I know you have your website, and you did
Mm.
share, a story and why you have
Yeah. Yeah.
started. So obviously, all the listeners who are listening, if you want to read, you can learn from there as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, if you don't mind, tell us what is it and why you have started this project, and maybe a little bit something that maybe you didn't mention on the website, but it's
Yeah.
a little special
Yeah.
here. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So as I said in my introduction, like I grew up kind of all over the place. And when I moved to Japan when I was 10, it was because my parents actually they got a divorce.
Mhm.
So it was a very big turning point in my life. And I didn't really realize up until that point how my identity affected me. I always like living in California, it's such a diverse city. I never ever felt like an outsider. I never questioned my identity. But when I moved back to Japan, for the first time, I was seen as a gaijin, like an
Yeah,
outsider.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, at this age of 10 years old, I was going through so many different changes in my life. And on top of that, I just felt like I had no more safe space. And
Oh
from
gosh.
that point on, I was always traveling back and forth to see my dad and then to see my mom. And it was always, which holidays do I spend with which family member? And
Mhm.
then once I started going to school, I experienced bullying because my Japanese wasn't as good. And I was considered like, they called me like the baka
Oh my
hafu.
gosh.
Um, you know, I really, really struggled in school to keep up.
Yeah.
And but interestingly, like I'm a makezukirai. I don't
Mhm.
like being told what to do. I hated the fact that people were looking down on me. So I kind of turned that anger into motivation and I was like, I'm going to get the best grades. I'm going to do, everything. So I really pushed myself insanely. I only let myself get the best grades. I did student council. I was the softball captain. I did debate. I did everything because I felt like I had to prove myself to
Right. Oh
someone.
my gosh. Yeah.
because I felt like the only way people would accept me is if I had these achievements. So, and I think high school was the worst, where I didn't sleep. I really did not let myself sleep. Um, I would get to school at 7:30. I would study until school started, and then, after school, I would have all these extracurriculars, and I would come home, and then I would study and do all of that constantly. And I think for me, one of my biggest motivations was just getting into a good university so that I could get out of Japan and just kind of escape everything. And obviously, the only way I would be able to afford going to university abroad was if I got a scholarship. So so that's why I really worked hard, and I did manage to make all those dreams come true, but I completely ignored my mental health. So when I was around 15, that's when I started noticing, my depression, my anxiety.
Only 15.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
gosh.
I noticed all of that going downhill, but I think I was kind of conditioned to think like, no, you're just being weak. Like I just need to keep pushing and keep pushing. And so I kind of dealt with that over the years. And it was actually my dad who was the first person that was like, I think you should see a psychiatrist. And I was like, no way. Like there's nothing wrong with me. Like seeing a psychiatrist is for crazy people. Like I didn't want to admit to myself that I needed help. And on top of that, my Japanese side of the family, mental health is a complete taboo. Like no one talks about it. And, when I first kind of started opening up to my mom about how I was feeling, she was like, "Oh, just go for a run. Go do some yoga. Like it'll make you feel better." And so like I had this ingrained, and then up when I turned 17, I had never missed a day of school, and I had never been absent. But one day I woke up and I just could not get out of bed. And I was so burnt out and mentally exhausted that the thought of going to school gave me so much anxiety. And I realized, like, I can't do this anymore. So I think that was another big turning point in my life. And it was the first time that my mom said, "Okay, let's go see a psychiatrist. Like, let's go see if you can get some help." And so we went, and I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And obviously, it took a few appointments to get this diagnosis. Like, it was a very long process. And on top of that, when it came to like treatment options, she recommended counseling, and then my psychiatrist recommended taking medication, which was also like there's a whole stigma against taking medication. But at this point I was so miserable that I just wanted anything that could possibly make this better. So I was like, give me the medication. Like I need to get better because I was just so tired of feeling like this. So I started taking medication, and that's kind of when my whole perspective on mental health really changed. I realized like if you don't take care of your mental health, you cannot function as a human being. So, since I was 15 to 17, I had been pushing myself and ignoring my own self-care. And then I was so miserable to the point where I couldn't even get out of bed sometimes. And I realized, I was like, okay, I can't keep on living like this. And, I think a lot of people, they kind of, I feel like the term depression, people can use it very lightly, and they say like, "Oh, I'm depressed today," or like, "Oh, I've been so depressed."
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but real depression is so draining.
Yeah.
And I remember days where I would just kind of stare into nothing, and that's how exhausted my body was. And it was this numb feeling. I couldn't even feel anything anymore.
Yeah.
So, on my 18th birthday, I was still struggling to go to school, and my dad at the time was living in the Philippines. So he was like, how about we meet halfway in Hong Kong and we can celebrate your 18th birthday. He was really worried about me. So he thought, you know, getting out of the country would be kind of like a good, just like a good recharge for me. So I went to go visit him. And I remember while I was in Hong Kong, I was like, okay, you know what? Like, I want to change. I want to change my life. I want to get better. I want to do better. Like, I was so just tired. So I remember I was in my hotel room and I was thinking about this and I felt really good. I was excited. I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to Osaka. I'm going to go to school. Like, I'm going to change. And then when I landed in Osaka, I had a text from my dad because my dad went back to the Philippines and I went back to Japan. And he was like, "Hey, are you home yet?" And I'm like, "No, not yet. Like, I just got to the airport." He was like, "Okay, like text me when you get home." And then my mom came to pick me up, and in the car, she was like, "Yeah, like we have some bad news." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I thought, you know, maybe my grandma's sick. I was just thinking of so many different things. And then when I got home, and this is a story that I don't really go into detail much, but um, my sister sat me down and she said, "Hey Meg, you know, Jeffrey, our cousin, he committed suicide." And I remember like I heard that news and I really don't, I think my mind just kind of blinked
Yeah.
and I couldn't think straight and I just went into panic mode. And obviously the months following that, because my family is very, very close, even though we're all spread out, like my cousins, they feel like my brothers to me.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I always loved about my family is that we were very, very close. So when I heard this news, I was just every part of my being was just ripped away from me. And the following months were the hardest. If I thought depression before that was hard, this was completely a new experience. And it was also the time when I had to start applying to universities. So it was just a crazy, crazy time for me. And, you know, I remember just going to sleep every night. Like I would just question everything. And it was so ironic to me because I had just made the decision that I was going to change my
You're like,
life.
I feel good,
Yeah.
ready to just change.
Yeah.
Oh
I
gosh.
and then this news hit me and everything changed. Um, so the following months were very hard. And then I think the only silver lining was that I got into my dream university. I got a full scholarship. And so I was like, okay, like I have something to kind of look forward to. And that event really kicked off my journey with mental health. And it became the reason why I started Blossom is because of Jeffrey and because of those experiences. And for all of the people who have lost someone in their lives to mental health and all the people who they themselves have considered taking their own life and just, you know, I realized the conversation about mental health, especially in Japan, is lacking so much. And it's very much an issue that affects especially Japan.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why people were so afraid to talk about it. And that's why I'm very open about my experiences and I'm very open about talking about, you know, losing a family member because I think we have to kind of normalize these conversations. So once I went to university, I started, you know, joining like groups about mental health, and that's where I learned a lot about. I went through training. We learned different coping mechanisms and about different mental illnesses, and I was like, okay, I want to do something with this knowledge. I want to
Yeah.
give back to my community. I want a platform where we can openly talk about mental health. And I was always just, I could never find the right time to start it. You know, like I was a university student, I was busy, I was traveling. But when the pandemic hit, and I was still in the States and I was just locked up at home, the first thing that crossed my mind was, what are people with severe mental illnesses doing? Because they've lost their complete support system.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, okay, like this is the time to start Blossom. And I grabbed my iPad and I started drawing and doing notes.
So it's really very recent, like April of
April, yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't even know where to start. There's so many ways that I want to ask questions, but first, thank you for sharing. I know it's not an easy story to share too. And secondly, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, I think opportunities like this where I get to meet with different people
Yeah.
and share these conversations is very
Yes.
inspiring for me.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, I'm in a much better place now. I'm not perfect, of course.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as perfect, but I'm doing much, much better. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And there are so many things I can also relate. I personally is not going through depression. However, one of my best friends here in the States is going through depression, and last year she went through a divorce, and it's been really tough. And not only we don't have a lot of information about depression. It's because like you said, it's taboo, or you don't talk about it publicly because it's like a very shameful thing.
Yeah.
Like, and also like I personally, I have no idea how to support her.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to Google how can I support a best friend who is going through depression. And I mean, there are a lot of information, but obviously it's not a one fit solution. Everybody has a different stories, and so I myself was just going through like how can I help, and but just being there, just letting her know that like, hey, I'm here for you. So it's been very hard for not necessarily hard, like difficult, but it's just seeing her going through that, and I feel like I can do so much more better, but I can't. It's just like, it's not so much hard, but frustrating because I can't. I can't do, I feel like I can do more, but I can't. Like not knowing what to do just really frustrates me too. So,
Of course. But I think it goes both ways. The most famous saying is you have to help yourself first before you help others.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I've had many friends, very close friends around me also struggle with depression. And you have to be able to say, this is what I can offer, but you also have to protect yourself and your own heart too.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to show up for them and offer them any support, but also know that ultimately, they themselves have to go out and seek the support, and you'll be there every step of the way supporting them.
Yeah.
But the fact that you care so deeply, and I can already tell just how much you care for her.
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
sure that
made me cry for them.
Yeah,
And then
that already is so important and so beautiful, that friendship that you guys have.
oh, thank you so much. You made me cry.
Oh.
Yeah. And also when you talked about, I'm so sorry to hear about your family member, one of your family members. And I think this is a problem because so many young people, they are losing their lives. And I still remember one of my best friends, that's a long time ago, from elementary. And I think I was still in junior high. Yeah, junior high. And my best friend's brother was going through like a jukenko, right? I'm sorry, not jukenko, jukenjuku, right? Because he was so expected to go to, or he put himself on pressure. Oh my God, but he also decided to end his life as well. It's just real, like, and this is not something that's new. It's been like this. There are a history of it, but no one really talks about it, or no one really do anything about it. I feel like I feel this is just only my assumption, but outside of you, people are looking at you like, what do you mean you're struggling? You have A's. You're a
Yeah.
captain of softball,
Yeah.
team, and you're in a student council. And like, what do you mean your life is so perfect,
Mhm.
right? And no one really know because it's just only it's like an iceberg, and people only look at the tip of the iceberg, and we have no idea what's going on underneath.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, it's I know it's a deep conversation, but and from there to you have started sharing about your well,
Mhm.
not necessarily your story, but like mental health itself. And
Mhm.
how is that going? Meaning, do you start hearing more about people saying like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for
Mhm.
sharing," and all those things? Like, how is that like affecting? Or not affecting, but like, what are the impact are you making so far by
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
blossom?
I've received so much positive
I bet.
feedback. So many people reaching out and saying, because of this post, like I decided to go see a psychiatrist, or I've decided to learn more about mental health, or do more research, or learn about self-care.
Yeah.
So there's so many people who have reached out to me about that, and obviously
Yeah.
like it makes me so happy because that's exactly why I'm doing this, to
Yes.
to show to people that it's okay to need help. It's
Yeah.
okay to seek mental health support, to just
Yes.
normalize these conversations.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's
How is the system in Japan in terms of having those mental health?
mhm.
Do you get a really good professional like medical support, or I could oversee because I have no idea.
Yeah. So I've in Japan, I've only seen a psychiatrist. I've never seen like a counselor. I've only
Okay.
seen that after I went to university, so I'm not sure. I know one thing that's universal is that counseling is so expensive.
You're right. And
And
insurance doesn't cover for that.
depending on the place, insurance
Okay.
doesn't cover.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason why I started going when I was abroad is because my scholarship insurance covered that.
Right.
But in Japan, I know it's very, very expensive. And then when it comes to seeing a psychiatrist, and the difference is that psychiatrists, they prescribe you the medication. It's more like the science
Hmm.
aspect of it.
Right.
Um, that one, insurance does work.
Hmm.
But I think Japan has a culture of just kind of prescribing the medication and then like kind of getting it over with.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day, like it's understandable, like that is the job of a psychiatrist. But
Hmm.
I think we need to kind of have a more holistic approach,
Yes.
understand, why is this person feeling like this? Which is why on my account, I don't just only talk about mental health, I talk about social issues because,
Yes.
if you don't start changing it from there, you can't just keep on prescribing medication and then
Right.
assume that the person will be okay. I think it kind of ties back into Japan's like gaman. They're always just
Yeah. Gamamuka. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
like just keep gaman suru, and
Yeah, and if you can't do something, that means you have to gambaru, right?
yeah,
もっと頑張
exactly.
らなきゃ, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which it shouldn't have to be like that. So
Hmm.
I think I always tell people who want to see psychiatrists, don't expect the first psychiatrist that you see to be the best
Yeah,
one.
sure. Hmm.
And this is what's very complex about mental health support is that it takes time, and not a lot of people have that time.
Right.
So, time is money. It gets expensive,
Yeah.
but it's very much something that you would invest in. Like, when you're going to go get heart surgery, you're not going to go to the worst heart surgeon. You're going to try and find the best that you
Hmm.
can.
Yeah,
Same
right.
same with your mental health. You need to
Hmm.
invest that time because, people think your mental health is not as important as your physical health, but
Right.
they're both just as important.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's true. I feel like we don't even have those enough information on even how to start, how to
Yeah.
get a help, how to
Yeah.
find I don't like the word perfect, but someone that you
Yeah.
can, they can relate, because obviously at the end of the day, it's their job, but
Yeah.
you don't want to be working with someone who are just doing their job and get
Yeah.
paid. Someone who is really there to really help And, you know,
Yeah.
like you said, not just, okay, you're this, so let me just give you this medicine, you know. Wow. Okay. So then, you know, like you mentioned that, you know, mental health is not just one thing, but there is a story
Yeah.
underneath to it. And
Yeah.
so when you look at the Blossom Project, there are so many topics there that
Yeah.
like I am so passionate about. So how, first of all, how do you decide? I mean, it's kind of broad question, but how do you decide like which topic that you want to share? Meaning, because do you are the audience, are they mainly Japanese, or like what is
Mhm.
the percentage? Have you ever looked into?
I think I don't know how accurate Instagram
Yeah,
is, but
I'm sure.
Instagram does provide you with some
Yeah.
information.
Uh-huh.
Majority of my followers are Japanese,
Okay.
as in like they live in Japan.
They live in Japan.
So
Uh-huh.
obviously, I don't know if that entails whether they're fully Japanese or if they're foreigners living in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second biggest demographic, I think, is from the US. But
Okay.
again, I'm sure that many of the people that follow me,
It could be
um,
me.
yeah, they could be like
Coming from US.
Japanese.
Yeah.
They speak Japanese or they're mixed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think largely my audience is Japanese. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then I mean, so many topics that like I want to mention, but obviously I'm not gonna have time. So all the listeners, you gotta go and check. And actually, the reason why I found your account is one of my listeners, one of my actually clients. She told me about your account. It was during the time
Oh,
of Black Lives Matter. Yeah, that was the time that I discovered your account too. And you know, you talked about it. And how do you deliver a message, or how do you deliver these contents? I mean, because obviously you do it so well.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. When it comes to choosing topics, it's so hard. Like right now, I have a list of topics that
Oh
I
my
always
goodness.
oh that I
Yeah.
always want to talk about.
Yes.
But obviously I don't have the time, so it's just kind of honestly like a checklist. Like I just kind of go in order
I see.
from all of like sometimes I'm on the train and then I'll see a poster about something and I'll be like, that's weird,
Oh my
like
gosh. Yeah, I do that all the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
like we should talk about this.
Yeah.
Or I'll read a news article and I'm like, oh, like I should talk about this. So in terms of picking topics,
It's
like
everywhere.
I think it, yeah, I think it
Yeah.
stems from my original interest in social justice. Like I've always been passionate about that.
Is it
Um,
something you're studying right now too?
I'm a political science major,
Oh,
so yeah,
sorry.
I
Yeah.
studied politics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that helps too. What I learned in class, I turn into a post.
Yeah.
Um, and then in terms of actually making it, the number one thing that I am very careful about is research. Um,
Mm.
it's inevitable. Like bias is inevitable, no matter
Yeah.
even if I was a journalist at CNN, I would be
Yeah.
biased.
Yeah.
But I try and look at a bunch of different sources, and I look at both like English and Japanese content. So the first thing that I do is just research,
Wow.
and then I summarize what I found, and then I translate that after. And this process can take anywhere up to from like 5 hours to like a day.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was gonna ask how long
Yeah.
it
And
takes.
then my favorite part is actually doing the graphics because I like drawing and
Oh, so this is your original. You do the.
yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah. So that doesn't take too much time. I think it's more of the research and translating in. You have to be careful of the words that you use. You want to make sure that it's accessible.
Yeah.
And these are all things like I guess one thing that I want more people to understand is that I'm just a student who does this,
Oh.
I find time to do this amongst my busy day and I'm not a professional. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I mean, I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, but you didn't talk about this,"
Oh
and I'm like,
gosh. Please. Then
I
you do it
can.
then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you do it?
yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
when it comes to posts about political social issues,
Yeah.
that's where I
There's
get
always,
yeah,
yeah, comments and stuff too. Yeah. I mean, that's the hard part because I think so many people who are not willing to put their voice into this social media world is because they're scared,
Yeah.
right? They're scared to be judged. They're scared to be not liked. So I cannot thank enough for you
Oh,
doing this.
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So are you getting like more people like who are supporting your project? Like how are you getting like people to kind of on board? Because you obviously you can't do this all by yourself.
Right now it's just me and one other girl who occasionally helps with the translations when I need it. Um, the I have another page that's launching in January. That's gonna be more like it's gonna be an online magazine, so gonna be
Okay.
more articles. And for that, of course, I have a team of writers and translators.
Wow.
But for Blossom, the project, it's just me. And I think for in the meantime, I'm gonna keep it that way, just because
Mm-hmm.
I am very particular about the way I want my post to be
Got
and
it.
the information, the way I write it.
Yeah.
So I find that it works smoothly smoother when I'm alone. Yeah.
No, please keep it the way it is because I love
Thank
it.
you.
So you mentioned about another page coming up and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So tell us more about what is your
Yeah.
vision and what's happening in 2021 and hopefully
Yeah.
no more corona. You can go back to New York and all that, but and beyond. Like, what is your big
Yeah.
vision?
Yeah. So I mean, when I started Blossom this year, I never ever started it with the intention of it growing into what it is today. That's not to
Oh my
say that
gosh,
I'm
how
not.
many people? 40.5K.
Yeah. I really just started it for anyone out there who needed some encouragement, who needed some resources, someone to talk to. So obviously, I'm very, very grateful for the platform that it's grown into. But again, like one post and 10 slides is never enough to cover a whole aspect of a topic.
Yeah.
And I noticed that there's so much activism that out there that
Mhm.
needs more attention, whether it's in Japan or abroad or anywhere. So I had this idea of, starting an online magazine or a media platform where I combine all of these aspects of activism and art
Uh-huh.
and social issues, like all of that coming together.
I
And
see.
we can just talk about so many different issues. And I want it to be, I think art plays a very important role in my life. And
Mhm.
that's a very fundamental factor that I want
Mm.
to be a part of. And so that's launching in January. And I'll
How
be moving
exciting.
I'll be moving to Tokyo for a few months to kind of get that started. And
Mhm.
then, I mean, I'm still a student, so hopefully
Yeah,
by,
let's not forget about that part.
yeah, so hopefully by next fall, I'll be able to go back to New York for a semester. But until then, it's just online classes and working on Blossom and really kind of trying to see
Yeah.
how much of an impact we can make.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you. And that's the page Blossom the Media, right?
Media,
Media.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh my goodness, this is. I just got a chill. I mean, you can't see my goosebumps,
Oh,
but this is so amazing.
thank you.
Yeah, please keep us posted because I would love to learn more, and I
Oh,
am pretty sure there are a lot of people who appreciate it, and but like literally one person at a time. Like we can't just let's just post one and impact the huge big people. And this is something that it's the same thing for like whoever who are trying to grow a business. It's the
yeah,
same thing. You
yeah,
can't just like hope for this one. Well, obviously for you, it's been doing really well, but one post, I'm gonna get a hit and I'm gonna get interviewed by the TV, the media, like
yeah.
obviously that doesn't happen, but so it's one step at a time. So definitely keep me posted and let me know if there's anything that I can support you on your journey as well.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you. That means so
Yeah.
much to me.
Oh, thank you. And now I'm gonna switch a gear to for the her confidence her way power questions. This is something that I ask for all the guests who
Of
are
course.
coming. Yeah. So it can be like really really quick short answer. The first question is how would you define your own self confidence and how are you building your own?
Yeah, my own self-confidence is something that fluctuates every day. And I think this is relatable for everyone. You know, some mornings I wake up and I feel super great, and some mornings I wake up and I just don't want to do anything and I feel awful. But I think it's something that is always growing and always changing. And you have to learn to be okay with that and know that, you know, we all have our good days and our bad days. But as long as you're reaching for that progress, that's kind of the most important thing. So it's my confidence is kind of like a part of me that's always growing and changing. Yeah.
I love how you said frustrated. I had to laugh because, you know, like you wake up and really good or, you know, not feeling good. But for me, it's, I wake up really good and I have my morning ritual, you know, like I meditate and I journal. And then as soon as my kids wake up, I'm like, boom, like down there. So I just have to laugh a little bit, but yeah, I love it. Definitely, it's something. It's not like once I get I got my confidence, I'm good. No, it's
Yeah.
growing all the time. Perfect. So, what is your gifted talent, and how are you using it?
My talent?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. I've always loved storytelling. And when I say storytelling, I don't just mean, you know, I don't just mean fictional stories or stories about myself. I think what I do through Blossom is storytelling. I take information of what's happening in the world, of social issues, and I find a platform to share that with people. And I've my ever since I could read and write, I always was reading books and I was writing stories and I was sharing it. And even now, one of my favorite things to do is write. And I hope that one day I can write a book. That's a big dream of
Oh
mine.
my gosh, can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wow, it's amazing.
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so then, you know, with all those gifts and talents that you have, and you're always growing your self confidence and stuff, but obviously there's always some blocks and like, who am I to do this and all that. So, what is your or what was your limiting belief, and if you have already overcome it, how did you overcome it?
I think it's a struggle with my mental health, and that's something that's always going to be. It's a part of me. So my depression is a part of me, and I don't see it as something that you get cured from.
Mm-hmm. True.
Learning to live with that. There's a very strong part of me that's very negative, very dark and deep, and I try every day is a struggle to, and I think this is the same for anyone that has depression or any form of mental illness, is that every day is a fight to
Yeah.
get up and say, I'm not going to let this win today. Like today I'm going to be stronger than these thoughts. I'm going to keep going. And yeah, that's something that, you know, that's the voice in my head that tells me I'm not good enough. That's the voice in my head that tells me, oh, I'm getting kind of emotional of, you know, like, why am I even doing this?
Oh
Um,
gosh, yeah.
but every day, so many people around the world, they take that voice and they say no. They say not today. And I learn, and I'm again, it's something that I constantly struggle with. But
Oh my gosh, yeah, I could totally relate,
yeah,
especially like, what's the point of me doing this? Like, and then I get upset. No one's reading, but it's
yeah,
not about someone else.
yeah,
You know, it's just like me. I get it. It's a hard thing, especially like what you're going through. Oh my gosh, because mental health. Did you say that it's something that it will like live within you? Like it's
yeah,
not gonna like I'll get a vaccine
yeah,
and I'm
exactly.
good, you know?
Yeah, it's just something that I think we often. It's like your physical health. It's not something you can ever just
I see.
ignore.
Yeah,
It's something that will always be a part of you, and every
right.
day you learn to find what works best for you and listen to yourself and be patient with yourself.
Mm, thank you. And what is your passion?
Oh, my passion is Blossom and
Oh, yeah.
everything that Blossom entails. It's not just these posts that I make, but connecting with amazing people like you, for example, and being able to
Thank you.
no, really, like I always tell people my favorite thing since starting Blossom is the connections that I've made.
Yeah,
You know, you can take away all of the followers, all of that. I
yeah,
don't do it for that. I
yeah,
do it to build these connections because at the end of the day, human beings can't function alone.
yeah.
don't want people. And I think that's why the pandemic has been so hard
Oh
is
yeah,
because,
I was just about to say, like,
yeah,
yeah, obviously this year.
yeah, we've been cut off from that physical
Hmm.
distance with others. But
Hmm.
in place of that, I've made these amazing connections with people. And it inspires me to be around inspiring
Yeah,
people because I'm like, you know, there's so much negativity, but then there's so many people doing amazing things.
for
And I'm like,
sure.
when I see that, I'm like, oh, like this is why we live,
Yes.
why we do what we do.
Yeah.
So,
And for your community too, right? And people who are, yeah, network, and also the people, because you obviously built this platform, the community of people who are also connecting with you and relating with you and others.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So this is I asked you so many questions, and I promise this is going to be the last question for you. What would you say to women who are listening to this podcast, who are maybe wanting to do something, but they're just telling yourself like, who am I to do this? Or like, what's the point of doing this? And, kind of like stopping themselves from doing something new or something they're really passionate about. It could be a side hustle. What would you want to tell people?
Yeah. The number one thing is stop doubting yourself and stop thinking that that you have to have a perfect plan to get
Yeah.
started. Because when I started Blossom, I had no idea what it was going to turn into. I just knew I wanted a platform to talk about mental health, and I chose Instagram because it was the most convenient. But if for you the most convenient is starting a website or your own personal Instagram account, like whatever it is, whatever you do, don't think you have to have a 10-step plan.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, you just kind of start it. If it's
Hmm.
starting a podcast,
Yeah.
find one friend, grab them, and say, "Hey, let's talk
That's who
about this."
I was. Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
I started.
I think especially this is awful, but women always doubt themselves because society has suppressed us for so many years and has told us for so many years that you can't do what a man can do.
Hmm.
And I this goes for when I say women, I use the inclusive term of all
Yeah.
women. You
Hmm.
know, stop doubting yourself, stop listening to these people, and be prepared for people to try and bring you down.
Oh yeah.
That's always gonna be there.
There's gonna be everywhere, but at the same
Yeah,
time, there are gonna be people who are gonna be supporting you
exactly.
everywhere too. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think Nike says it best, just do it. It's so true
Yes.
that you need to, if it's picking up a pen to write your book, pick up that pen and write the first word. And it's amazing how everything after that just kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just as long as you're really passionate about what you're doing, like
Yeah.
don't do it because it's a trend or
Uh-huh. Yep.
you want you want the clout and the fame. It's like, no, do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow. Well, thank you so much again. And how can my listeners can connect with you? Where would be the
Um,
best? I mean, obviously the
yeah, yeah.
blossom. The Instagram would be the best.
Yeah, definitely. Either if you want to reach out to me, I always say email because
Mm.
my DMs on Blossom are crazy. Personal account, I check much more,
Mm-hmm.
or my email, which
Mm-hmm.
is
Email.
listed in my bio. All of that
Okay.
is Blossom's bio page. So
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good. Well, Meg, thank you so much for your time and your valuable stories, and thank you so much for what you do. And I cannot wait to see, like, no pressure here, but more what's coming from you.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for sharing, this amazing platform with me and
Oh,
having
thank
me
you.
on your platform. Like, I'm very excited for this connection and our relationship to kind of grow. And hopefully one day when the pandemic is over, we can meet in
And in
person.
New York or in
Yeah,
Japan. Yeah,
sure.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Have a beautiful day
Thank you.
or
Thank
evening.
you. Yeah, for sure.
There you have it. I hope you had enjoyed my conversation with Meg. I told you it was so good and was so deep. And I hope that you really realize the importance of mental health. Meg said, mental health is just as important as physical health. We have been ignoring the sign, ignoring the voice, the feeling, and we're so numb to it. And sometimes I don't even know if I am feeling pressured or if I'm feeling stressed out, because I feel like this is normal and I have been living with this condition for the longest time, and maybe I don't really know what is quote unquote normal. So self-care, take care. You have to love yourself. It's super, super, super important. And as Meg said, her new media platform is launching on January 11th of this year. And please give her some love and follow her Instagram account, Blossom the Media. I am very excited. I am following her account as well, and you guys should definitely do. Okay, so that is all for today, and thank you so much for listening to this episode. And everybody, remember that my free masterclass is coming up. It's starting on the 18th, so make sure you are signing up if you have decided that this is a year of your transformation. Okay, I am going to end with this message. One of my listeners reached out to me and she told me how she liked this message, so I'm going to end with this. Ladies, no more excuses. Stop settling and stop limiting yourself. It is time for you to fight against your fear and elevate your work life. You are enough and you got this. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.